Okay, welcome back. So today I'm going to do a content strategy breakdown for a brand called Beeline that makes these very unique um, GPS units for cycling and motorcycling. And I've had the pleasure of testing their motorcycle one, and I love it, despite thinking that I wouldn't really like it or really use it. So I think they have a unique challenge with content in that their tool and their device is very different from other sort of GPS and navigation devices in the market, very different from like the Google Maps experience or Garmin, and kind of fits a new niche of urban and motorcycle cycling riders who want this different type of navigation experience. So, what we're going to get into today is their content strategy, their blog, which I have up on the screen, and try to break down how they're running their blog, compare it to a couple other similar brands in the space that are doing interesting things around navigation and GPS and routing and stuff. We're going to look at keyword gaps, and then I'm going to throw out throughout the entire stream a bunch of creative ideas just on what I would do if this brand was a client of mine for my agency. So, by the way, my name is Evan. I run a motorcycle marketing agency. We help motorcycle brands improve their content on their website. And I built this agency out of building a media site to 250,000 visitors a year. It's on motorcycle gear, and on that website, the average page sells over $2,000 of gear per year. So my team and I know really well how to write high converting, useful content, especially in the motorcycle niche. So we are now breaking down brands, especially ecom brands, to show them how they can do the same with their blog. So if you want to work together or you want a breakdown on your own brand, just drop me a comment or email me. My email is in the description. Cool. So with that, let's go on to the breakdown. So the first thing that I always do in these breakdowns is just go to the homepage of the brand's blog and scroll through and try to get a high level understanding for what is their strategy, what do they talk about on their brand, on their blog, what are they going for. And so Beeline's blog is called The Coffee Stop. They talk about a lot of tips on cycling and motorcycling, a lot of stories. They say gear guides, although there's not that many. And then just behind the scenes about their brand. So classic, I see a lot of brand blogs. They have news. So they just put up news about events that we're doing and things that we've done, product launches. I saw a lot of stuff here about different product launches, like new Velo 2 features in spring. Velo is their cycling device. Elevation gain and loss features, giving for Black Friday, different events, and Earth Day, things that they're doing. Motorcycling is kind of similar. You have this piece about their product itself. This is more of a useful piece. This is what I specialize in, what I look for on brand blogs that most brands are just totally missing out on, which is like, how do you use their products? How can the lifestyle around their products improve your life or make your motorcycling, in this case, or your cycling, more fun, more enjoyable? How does your product work, and how does it make people's lives better? This is kind of a sort of innovation piece, why we designed the Moto 2 for glove-friendly navigation, simple, just announcing new products, new Moto 2 mounts, another events driven. So this is pretty common of what I see across different brand blogs. I am seeing sort of a lack of the what I would call jobs to be done content, like content that's really helpful for a user. This seems more like press releases. It's what Beeline wants to talk about rather than what are Beeline's users or potential customers interested in learning about. That's if you're answering those types of topics like how to navigate your motorcycle trip, just drop Beeline. How do you navigate a motorcycle trip? Be useful to your potential customer, and then they're more likely to engage with your brand, to sign up for email, or to just straight up buy your product because they like that content so much, or you've shown how your product solves their problem and they weren't necessarily even looking for you, but now they know that you're the solution to that problem. That's the kind of content I'm not seeing much of here. The other thing I will say is the cadence does not seem steady. I wrote a note about this as I was going through the site before I went live. many posts are very brand led rather than search led, like I just said. And you can see like they posted 3 posts here in July on the same date, but then they hadn't posted since April, and then before that, not since November of the year before. So what I see with blogs and what I experienced with my own website as well, consistency is so important. You have to be putting out valuable content regularly, and that is what signals to Google and to AI crawlers that are now indexing all this content and serving it up. It signals to them that you are an authority and that you are committed to providing useful information. So if you're regularly posting high quality content, then you're going to start getting picked up. And what I think, as I looked at some of Beeline's analytics earlier, which we'll get into later on the stream, and they are not getting much traffic to their blog. They're getting barely any traffic. And I bet that's because they are not regularly putting out content showing Google that we are an authority, we are committed to creating helpful content for people. It really takes a commitment to producing content to see the results. Just throwing a blog post out here and there, it might have worked, 5-10 years ago, but nowadays you're going to get completely ignored by Google and by all these indexers that are essentially reading the web and figuring out what to serve up to people who are asking questions. So that's my overall first read on the blog. Now I want to dig into what I call the content inventory. So the key questions that I'm trying to ask here are they covering the high intent topics that actually drive sales, or are they just posting for the sake of posting? And are they regularly publishing with high volume? So we already pretty much answered those questions just by looking at this page, but we can get a deeper understanding by looking in a keyword research tool like Ahrefs. So I have a couple pages pulled up here to try and get a sense for, first of all, what is the like space of content that Beeline could be covering, and then how much are they actually covering. So when I was thinking about Beeline, it's a very unique product in that they fill a very specific niche within motorcycling, being a unique GPS routing tool, but that gives them a really broad sort of content mandate to write about rides and routes and motorcycle lifestyle. So I decided to just kind of slice off a piece of that and look at just routes and trips. Like, where are people searching for motorcycle routes, for cycling trips, these things where Beeline naturally fits into the activity that's being done, and you could easily rank a Beeline piece for. So I use this matching terms tool within Ahrefs, which is a keyword tool, looked up bicycle, cycling, motorbike, just basically trying to cover what are all the terms that people are searching for these different modes of transport that Beeline serves, and then including words like route, ride, trip, GPS, navigation, and just matching up those terms. Basically, we're looking at now a list of every keyword that pops up in this keyword tools database that matches any of these terms, that has these terms included. So how to ride a motorcycle, obviously that's a big topic. A lot of people are asking that. Even though Beeline is creating a navigation device, they could be delivering this type of content. As long as they're delivering good value, imagine how many more sales they could get if they were getting riders right at the beginning of their motorcycle experience. So maybe they just bought their first bike, or they're thinking about riding a motorbike. They know about Beeline before they probably even know about Alpine Stars or Dainese or any of these big brands that make all the gear, Shoei, Arai, these helmet makers. They might find out about Beeline first, and now you are the gateway to their entire journey with motorcycles. So a term like how to ride a motorcycle GPS, obviously this is somewhere that Beeline wants to be right at the top of. Learn how to ride a motorcycle, same idea. How old do you have to be to ride a motorcycle? GPS tracker, again, this is another thing that doesn't really match exactly what Beeline does, because GPS tracker is different from a navigation GPS, but it's something that they could write about and probably rank about, because to Google, they have authority around this concept of motorcycles and GPS. Motorcycle routes near me, that's a really good one that Beeline could start trying to rank for, and something that I'll get into later when I get into like possible strategies that they could pursue is I noticed with the content that they have now, where, yeah, here we go. So these are the keywords that they are ranking for just with their blogs, and it seems they already have some different sort of routes written out, like London to Cambridge, London to Box Hill, Box Hill cycle route. So they're already ranking for some of these things locally, since they're a UK company. They could be blowing this out all over the world. So when people are searching Pacific Coast Highway route, or what is it, Tail of the Dragon route. It's only 13 miles. You need a longer route around that to have a full day of riding. There's lots of different local keywords that individually are not going to deliver that much volume, but if they are writing out all these guides, they're going to start dominating the top of all these searches. And it's also really, really powerful for AI, because AI is looking for this kind of information, and not a lot of people are writing about it because each individual route doesn't have that much search volume, doesn't have that much interest. But if you're adding it all together, you are showing these AI crawlers that we have expertise on motorcycle and cycling routes all over the world. And then they will start to mine that data and show that Beeline is telling you to take these routes. And that can be super powerful for just brand exposure overall. Okay, so we talked about some keyword space, top keywords. We can also look at their top pages here, which is going to give me some indication as well of like content quality and how well they're attracting and retaining searchers. And when I pulled this up, my initial suspicions around the topic choice of their blog were confirmed, that they really are choosing, they have like this route piece, which it's only getting 2 searches per month. Seems kind of low, but that is some valuable content if they were to build that out. But then a lot of their content is just news, announcements. It's not things that people are searching for, so it's not getting much search traffic. And that's a huge blind spot, I think, for their content strategy. They could be getting so much search traffic by covering things, one, that are more relevant to the jobs to be done from Beeline riders. And then the other thing that I see, this is so common around brand blogs, instead of focusing the content around Beeline giving their perspective, focus it around what are the needs of the person searching for this topic. So instead of writing about, the best motorcycle GPS is Beeline, and we're going to talk about how Beeline is the best, talk about what are the problems of someone buying a motorcycle GPS, what are the issues that they're running into, the questions that they have, and then answer all of that and give them an honest, truthful answer of, this is the best GPS for you. And the cool thing about Beeline is it is definitely the best GPS for the right type of rider. So they can say that up front, and they can also build some brand equity and some reputation among riders by being honest that if you are going off-road and doing rally races, this is not the device for you. Don't buy a Beeline because you're going to be frustrated. You're going to leave a bad review. You're not going to like it. So be honest about, if Beeline is not the right solution for that rider, don't recommend it. So that's kind of getting into content quality, which I will dig into next. We're going to, in a minute, open up the Beeline blog specific posts and just talk about quality there. So yeah, a big thing that I noticed is the evergreen demand capture, like people who are searching for these jobs to be done, these problems, is very light versus a lot of other competitors. So I pulled up a couple, like this cycling routes company, Wahoo. They have a whole section of their blog that's just about training on indoor bikes. And they are really focusing the content towards what are the needs of a cyclist rather than what are the products that we have to sell. And that's bringing them a lot more search traffic. Kalimoto, they focus really well on different routes. So they have a lot of like Explore Portugal by Motorcycle, and they're giving tips and routes. Trips in the Black Forest, top GPS routes. And then they're giving you links to routes in Kalimoto's app so that you're getting exposed to their ecosystem through that. Komoot is another one that has this, they call it Adventure Hub for their blog, but they're doing a lot more content around tips and advice that I'm seeing missed in Beeline's content strategy. This kind of stuff, how to plan a route for a group adventure. It may have nothing really to sell from Komoot's side in that article, but it's building that expertise and it's drawing people into the brand who may not have even known what Komoot is or how it can help them. Cool. Let's see what else. So internal linking is another thing. We'll look at this in the content itself, but Ahrefs has a good tool for this to get an overall broad view for how this works. So internal linking is really, really important. I see blogs miss it all the time. And basically, it just means, are you linking your blog content to other blog content or just to other useful pages on your website? And I see blogs usually do one of two things. Either they have 0 links, they don't link to anything in their blog posts, or they just link to their products over and over again or to like big category pages. What they're missing there is linking to other informative content. And what I try to do on sites is create what are called hubs or pillars or hub and spoke model, where you have one hub like motorcycle camping. And then you have all these spokes off of that or different supporting topics like motorcycle camping with the BMW GS, motorcycle camping in Germany, motorcycle camping in the UK. And then you're linking all those content together, especially back to that hub. Best tents for motorcycle camping, like you can get into products like that. Best GPS for motorcycle camping trips, these kind of things. And then link them all back to that main topic hub that is motorcycle camping. That's one big article that's sort of a masterclass in that topic. And that really shows Google and AI engines who primarily are looking at links. Like they want to see how is content linked together, how is the web connected. When they just see you have one piece on motorcycle camping, they struggle to understand whether you are an authority on that or not. Whereas if you have one pillar piece with 20 supporting articles around that, which each of those supporting articles may not even get that much traffic, those are all feeding into that main page and showing Google that you have all this content. You've looked at this topic from every angle. So now we're going to rank everything in that topic much higher. And I've totally noticed that on my own website and a lot of brand sites when they start to have a hub architecture and they kind of ignore what they can find in the Keyword Explorer and just go off of kind of common sense, like what topics fit around this larger topic, and they write all that content, they start to rank way higher for all of those topics because they're showing these crawlers that they have authority in these areas. So that's internal linking. Winning approaches. So I think a couple things that could really work for Beeline here. One, I talked about routes, having route content in different geographies, maybe breaking that out as a separate category, having different categories for different places, and creating these like route-led libraries optimized for search. That could be really powerful. Having more evergreen content, like how to choose or versus content, or how do I set up and use this device, that really could capture a lot of switching intent, especially people maybe who are used to using a phone mount, like sort of attacking different questions or concerns around phone mounts, or even the best phone mounts, write that content and then suggest, well, if you don't want to risk your phone on the handlebars, we have a solution for that. So there's a huge opportunity to write a lot of that different type of content. All right, let's get into content quality. So for this, I'm going to just open up recent post. I want to look at this one because this seems pretty it's a how-to piece. So it's useful content versus talking about events or other things. So first thing I look at is introduction. Oh, actually, I wonder if this is an H1 too. So introductions are so important because they are the opening. They are the opening of the funnel. Okay, yeah. Before I get into introductions, there are, wow, why is this H1 so big? Road trip wingman, planning your route. Oh boy, there's a lot of H1s. All right, that's really bad. So before I get into that quick technical thing, there should never be more than one H1 on a blog post. And this page actually has several H1s. These are all H1s. And basically when web crawlers are looking at this, they look for the H1 for the topic. What is the topic of this page? And when you give them multiple H1s, it's extremely confusing as to what is the topic, what does this person want me to think this page is about? So all these should be H2s. That's like a very simple hygiene thing that needs to be cleaned up. Okay, so back to introductions. Introductions, if you don't capture their attention in the first 5 seconds, there's not much point to writing the rest of the blog post. So it's very important, and I see it missed all the time, to have introductions that nail a couple key points. One is the search intent. Like, why is someone here? Why did someone come to this post? We need to resonate with that very quickly, or they're going to find it irrelevant and they're going to leave. We also need to build rapport with them. Do we understand the problem that they're going through? Reveal that problem, reveal the authority that the company has behind that problem, or that the author has behind solving that problem, and then get right into the solution. So I just want to read this one really quick. Motorcycle road trips are all about freedom, but even the most spontaneous rides need a little structure. Beeline Moto gives you just the right amount of guidance. Okay, so this is pretty common with what I see on brand blogs, where instead of building rapport and hitting on the search intent, solving the problems, they just kind of summarize what they're going to talk about or summarize the problem in general, and then promote themselves. And so we haven't built any rapport here with the reader or shown them that we understand the problem. We're just talking in very vague terms. And so if I came here to figure out like what's the best motorcycle GPS or motorcycle navigation, I'd probably bounce by now. There's not, nothing here is telling me this article is going to solve my problem. Yeah, and again here, start in the Beeline app. Like, okay, I don't even know what the Beeline app is. I've never used it before. Why would I start there? You haven't given me any reason really to start there. So it's very Beeline focused, which again, super common with brands. I see that all the time. But when you're writing blog content and you want people to stick around and get to know your brand, you can't just start with the brand. You have to start from their perspective and what that person is coming to solve. Yeah, the other thing I've noticed with this piece and with all the other pieces that I was scrolling through before I went live on Beeline's site is very, very thin content. Like it's not giving me, before you hit the road, just charge it is all, and then mount it, sync it over your app, select your ride. Like having some pictures here, walkthrough videos. I know that Beeline has a good YouTube. A great strategy is to bring the YouTube and the blog together, and when you have a how-to video, put it in the blog. It increases the time on site. It shows Google and different web crawlers and analytics that people are liking your content, they're engaging with it, they're watching and staying on that page. So putting videos in here to show the whole setup takes minutes. Okay, show me that setup right there in a video. I know Beeline has many videos like that. Same here, like you trying to describe what I know from using this device, what is like very difficult to describe in words. It's much easier to just show it. Using the offline mode. Yeah, see, this very much reads as this is how you use Beeline, not this is how to navigate on your motorcycle road trip. And again, very short, very thin content. And I see this with brands all the time. They pump out a lot of content like this. Like they'll use ChatGPT and just throw up 100 posts, but they're all very thin and very short. And then they wonder, why am I not getting traffic, or why are people bouncing off the page in the first 5 seconds? Well, because you've given them no reason to stay and no solid information to hold on to or to learn from, which actually can create a more negative effects than positive. Like, yeah, it is free, pretty much free to generate a bunch of content now with AI. But if people's impression of your brand is coming to the page and not getting what they want and leaving, then you've either made no impression or you've made a negative impression. So having really in-depth content is just super, super important for any kind of blog strategy. And you can't really evaluate your blog until you have good content up there. The other thing I totally noticed missing is like there's no voice in here. There's no like personality to Beeline. It just reads like a technical manual. One comment really quick to make about content quality is I noticed on my own website when I first put up content, it was a lot like this. It was very thin and bland. And I started getting a bit of traffic, but nothing was happening. Like people were bouncing very quickly. They were not clicking through and buying products or becoming interested in the brand or the website at all. And then I went through and rewrote the top 10 articles on the page and just made them the most interesting, information-rich articles I possibly could. And my earnings per visitor to the website, not my earnings, but the gear that was sold by brands, went from about 10 cents per visitor to over $2 in a matter of days, because suddenly people were way more engaged with the content. They were getting the answers that they needed, and they were going and buying products and taking actions based on that information. So don't discount the strength of quality content. It can really drive the bottom line. And the blog is not just a place for posting some stories once in a while or churning out content from other channels back onto your website. It can actually be a real driver of your overall business. Cool. So formats and distribution. So the next thing I want to look at is just, are they reusing this content in any way? So let's go back to the topics here. So we have like how to navigate your motorcycle trip, the best motorcycle GPS, why we designed it, to be glove friendly, Velo features. Basically, I'm going to go to their Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and just see, are they using these topics? Yeah, so here we see it's about events. It's just nice looking content. Events. Yeah, I'm not seeing, this is just puff piece about their product. Let's see. Yeah, a lot of event stuff and just posts from different users. Yeah, now we're at July 23rd, so we're before those last three posts. I haven't seen anything related to their blog posts, anything related to navigating motorcycle trip, motorcycle GPS, or why we designed it for glove-friendly navigation. So the point I'm trying to get to with looking at these socials and are they reusing blog content is every blog piece is really just an idea. You're writing about some topic. So especially with AI tools nowadays, you can build a very simple workflow to take what you've written on the blog and turn that into Instagram posts, Facebook posts, YouTube videos. I mean, you can get 90% of the way there because you have all the information. And I talk about this a lot with writing and AI, that AI is very good at organization, but it is awful at generation, like at generating useful, helpful content. It really struggles at doing that. It's getting better, but still, especially with topics that aren't written about a lot, like an individual product like Beeline that's very new to the market, to be able to give rich and accurate information, it needs to be fed that. But if you're going to already create content on the blog, you already have all that content in exactly the way that AI likes it, which is the written word. Now you can have the AI basically spin that in different ways so that it fits well on your Instagram and how you talk on Instagram. It fits well on Facebook. It has the right hashtags. It can go in your email newsletter. You can create a one-click system to redistribute that idea in the right medium for all these different places. So that's something that I would really like to see Beeline doing more of. I just realized I'm not putting any notes in here. So I'll have to go back and do that later to send this to Beeline. Blog topics were used on social, not at all. Big opportunity. The other thing is repurposing from YouTube to other formats. And this is something that we built a workflow for our own reviews. But basically you can build a tool very quickly that will take a YouTube video and break it down into an article and put it up on your website with visuals and everything, and interlinking, so you can link to the YouTube video and embed it in your blog post and then put the link to the blog post in the video. And this does a couple things. One, it gives you multiple ways to rank in Google or to be picked up by AI crawlers. They can read the article or they can watch the video. If people are searching, they're seeing Beeline probably in multiple places now on that search page. If they're just a reader, they can read. If they want to watch, they can watch. So you're just getting more out of, again, the same idea. You are going to do that. You have that how-to article or that how-to video up already. Make an article out of it. Takes 10 seconds to do that now with AI tools because you already have all the information in the video. It's very easy to do. And they do have some really good how-tos here. How to pair, the overviews, the different types of mounts and how to install them. Like all this content could be used in multiple ways, and it's now very simple to do that. Even this reasons to ride is like very interesting, more inspirational content that they could be reusing on the blog. And they have 126 videos, so there's a lot of blog content to be remade from that YouTube. All right, and that brings me to the summary and the next move. So we've talked about a couple moves here and different things that Beeline could do. I think they're really low-hanging fruit, and this is true for probably 90% of the brands I look at, is doing rewrites. So they're already getting a trickle of traffic, but they could be getting more if they just rewrite a couple of their top articles and make them really good. I think for most brands, I would say just rewrite it and you're getting enough traffic. Beeline is not getting enough traffic right now that I would recommend that. I would say rewrite and then post it across socials, post it on forums, send it out on your email list, and basically send a bunch of traffic to that content. You're going to get good feedback from users and customers on what they like about it, what they want to hear more about on that topic, for instance. And you're sending a great signal to Google that we've refreshed the content and people are looking at it now, so you should probably think about ranking it again. So that's what I would do, rewrite and promote that content, and then create some pillars around what you're going to write about next, because it doesn't seem like there's a very clear strategy here. It's extremely sporadic posting. I would have a very clear strategy of 100 posts built out, 100 topics that you're going to write about next, and a couple content pillars that I thought about. One is just trip planning and route intelligence, kind of top of funnel. So writing things like the best motorcycle routes in a certain region, and then having calls to action to use the Beeline app or to use these routes that have already been built out in Beeline, gets people into your ecosystem thinking about Beeline some more, using the app, doing things that are free, and then down the road they may be more interested in buying the product. Device mastery and setup, so having really deep device guides for the Moto 2. A lot of this can probably be repurposed from the YouTube how-tos. It's not that much extra lift to create this stuff, but just walking through how these devices work. Comparisons and buying guides. So this is one where you're going to have to change the voice of the Beeline blog right now from the voice and the perspective, I should say, from being about we are Beeline and this is what we do to this is your problem and we're going to help you solve it. and basically going through all the different competitors of Beeline, all the different ways that people are navigating and planning motorcycle and cycling trips, and then creating content around all those angles. So comparing different phone mounts to Beeline, comparing Quad Lock and SP Connect, and Peak Design, and all these different phone mount solutions, to using just the very elegant small Beeline that never has glare problems and doesn't have a camera that's going to get shaken loose by the vibration of your bike. There's just so many different angles they could be covering there, and different content they could write, and just being really helpful for the rider who just wants the best solution to their problem. And then keep going with the community stories and the challenges. You could even do some creative things like route of the week, where you're asking people across your socials to send you routes that they're creating on Beeline, and then round those up and create these route of the week articles that then easily gets syndicated out to email. That's really interesting, useful content for people in different areas to learn about routes in their area or somewhere they might be traveling. So that could be a really nice pillar as well. So rewrites, creating that content strategy, figuring out what the pillars are and what the first, say, start with 30 articles, but you can build out to 100, 200, 300. I think there's thousands of topics that could be written about just in this space. What else? Publishing cadence. I mean, once you have that strategy out, publishing every day, every other day, Google is not going to penalize you for putting out a lot of content. They want to see a lot of content, so you can publish even multiple times per day and not get dinged for it. So I will say rewrites and promote on socials to drive positive signals and feedback. And then we have build out coherent content strategy and consistency. Publish every day. I would say publish every day. And yeah, depth. Much more depth in every piece. Because again, consistency doesn't matter if you're not pumping out quality content. So even if you're pumping out 10 pieces a day, if they are really thin content that's not useful, it's not going to get any traction, and it's probably going to have more of a negative effect on your brand than a positive one. So that's what I would say about depth. Then I will copy in here what I have on Beeline's content pillars that I built out. Ooh, cool. So that is pretty much it for my breakdown on Beeline Moto. I think they have a huge opportunity here with content strategy. It's just that they need to be developing that coherent strategy and then figuring out how are they going to use that content across their different channels. They have a pretty decent and growing presence on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Even I have their Twitter open here. So they're doing really well there. But they could be powering that with a lot more blog content and providing more value to riders instead of just the inspirational stuff, which I see a lot of new brands focusing on. They have beautiful imagery, they have nice taglines, but they're kind of missing in the value to customers. And I see the brands that are doing really, really well, they are providing a ton of value to customers, whether it's ending in a sale or not. And there's plenty of ways to work that into the strategy so that you are making a return on this investment. Like I said, I grew my own motorcycle blog from 0 to 250,000 visits a year, and we sell on average over $2,000 of gear per article. That includes our informational articles. So we are very good at figuring out how do we show the right products to the right riders so that they are getting what they want. And we don't get paid if a product gets returned. So that's $2,000 of gear that people are liking and enjoying and using. And that's kind of the opportunity that Beeline has to draw users in, to show them why this motorcycle routing solution is the right one for them, and then selling as many of those as possible. And it becomes a flywheel once you start getting a lot of people using it, especially with something like this where you have an app, you have routes, you can build a community around that. It will scale up very, very quickly. So cool. That's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. Peace.